This book represents everything I know about travel. This video will hopefully make it a lot easier for you guys to learn the exact same things.
What is actually behind this whole name? I'm very curious about this.
Okay, well, first of all, finding a name is one of the hardest things to do.
Exactly.
But to keep it close to home, I mean, obviously my last name is Foster.
Yeah.
And so that played into it. But essentially, it's actually kind of, I wanted it to be as far away from myself as possible, because the whole essence behind it is that obviously to foster something is to nurture and to grow it.
Okay.
And one of the things that traveling essentially taught me at first was how incredible it was to kind of be in what I considered the traveler's society, which is, if anything, almost like an anti-society.
Okay.
You know, all the social norms are kind of broken down, and you are a lot more, the society in general is a whole lot more authentic. And so the whole purpose behind the name was to kind of play on that first impression I had of travel, about how there was a completely new culture amongst travelers, and that itself I felt needed to be fostered, especially in South Africa. You know, when you go traveling, no matter where in the world, you see usually people from specific countries like Australia, parts of Europe, and then, you know, America, people who are kind of encouraged more to travel.
Yeah.
Whereas in South Africa, not at all.
And I saw that you've travelled quite a lot. How many countries is it now?
29.
29. Wasn't it like 25 the last time?
No, it's 27, I think. Yeah, I added 2 more, Morocco and Ireland.
So from these, so obviously before you started this whole channel, you travelled so many countries. What made you decide to make this channel? Why did you start it?
Because my friends kept annoying me and asking me for my advice. Yeah, in reality, it kind of came down to the fact that a lot of people always said, "Oh, how do you do it? How do you do it?" And I could probably, if I wanted to tell everybody all my secrets and all that knowledge, it would take about 3 weeks of non-stop talking. And it's a lot to get through. And so I thought this would probably be the best way to get it out there.
Yeah.
Because then people can watch it at their own time, they can learn at their own time.
In one of your videos, you stated that you would only actually really reveal how you, as a 21-year-old, is able to travel that much once you reach 1,000 subscribers. Why 1,000 subscribers?
That's YouTube's kind of benchmark to the point. Well, it's at the point of monetization on YouTube, but it's also kind of like the goal, I guess.
Okay. Yeah.
So once there's 1,000 people listening, it kind of gives motivation to say, okay, well, now I've got a crowd of people who are interested. You know, I've got to a point where I've created something which people are interested enough in. You know, it's. I'm happy to tell people if they, you know, if you ask me, I'm happy to kind of tell you. But to make a video about it and put the time and energy into making something like that, I would like it to be online forever with all that sort of knowledge. Yeah, it's kind of just like a goal to get to for myself and hopefully for other people as well.
Yeah. So with the whole traveling thing, if I'm not mistaken, one of your videos, you said it's very good for you yourself. How do you think traveling impacts a person, like mentally, in that state of mind, if you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot. I think to answer this question correctly, one kind of has to look at how we are if we don't travel. Specifically how, you know, if we grow up in one town or in one city our entire lives around the exact same people, there's no cultural immersion, there's no learning of things you would not regularly expect. And that inherently kind of makes you a little bit conservative. Well, it does. It makes you conservative in your thinking and in your thoughts about the world. You know, it's very closed in the sense that you kind of believe only what you know. Whereas, as soon as you get thrown into this completely brand new environment where nothing seems to work the way you want it to, you then kind of, I mean, I said in the talk I gave at Bridge House, when travelers talk to each other, they very, very, very seldom do they come and say, this is what I think about the world. It's always kind of, we take a step back and we just absorb. And that's what I said, my whole argument between tourism or touristing and traveling is the fact that, you know, if you're a tourist, you kind of go somewhere with your own home in you. You know, you go to a nice place where you're comfortable and you don't really immerse yourself. Whereas the whole lifestyle of a traveler is to just kind of throw yourself into it and just push yourself to cope. And you learn so much more. You know, you become a whole lot more open to other people and other people's lives, and you take in a whole lot more. You kind of drop the whole, I want to say the facade. You know, you become a whole lot more authentic about life, and you see things from different perspectives, and that just in general greatens your life. It greatens your self-worth. That's all.
And for people who want to travel, what would you say to them regarding travels? Is there anything that stands out to you about traveling, that why you would tell people, like, listen, you have to go travel because of?
I think the best way to get to kind of answer that question would be to say, you know, if you've got one life, how do you want to live it? Do you want to be doing the same things in the same mundane sense, or do you want to push yourself to the points you never thought you could reach? I mean, I kind of have a huge belief that those who do travel are also people who seek, you know, the discomfort in life. They seek the things that they seek. Kind of what I feel it means to be natural as a human being. You know, we're very, especially in this society now where things can be quite easy. We do kind of just sit back and enjoy life in the comfort zone.
Yeah.
But you know, there's nothing more exciting than having the adrenaline run through your body when you know you're doing something you never thought you'd ever do.
And building on that, what would you say to someone who's a little bit terrified of traveling, especially for someone, for example me? I haven't really traveled overseas, but I've traveled between Namibia and South Africa. But traveling alone, it's something that I'm a little bit terrified of. What would you say to someone, for example, like me?
Just do it.
Just do it.
I mean, I often live by this in the fact that when it comes to choosing where I go, it usually is one day I'll be looking for flights and I'll find one that's ridiculously cheaper than previously, and I'll book it, and then I'll be like, now I have no money. Get the money so I know I can survive. So you kind of
just like, you know, this is it now. I have no other choice. I have to go.
Yes, because if you give yourself that choice, you'll always fall back on your security.
That's true.
You know, my gap year in 2016 was kind of like, my parents were like, here's a one-way ticket, go do it. You know, see you in a year. I mean, obviously it wasn't exactly like that, but that's what we kind of took from it. We stopped ourselves from saying, okay, listen, if you feel sad, come home. If you run out of money, call me. We wanted, personally, I mean, even myself, I wanted to go, okay, can I actually make it? Because the reality is that, you know, I mean, I always tell a story when it comes to this sort of conversation about when I was in the United States on my gap year. I went through a phase where I was out of work and I was staying in a house of a complete strange, like a family I'd never met before, and I'd only met them through the person my dad traveled with when he was my age. You know, so a random family who were just nice enough to let me stay at the house. And I was trying to create an income through writing articles on travel and put it up online. But at the same time, I was kind of buying time. And Gretchen, who was the lady I was staying with, actually said to me one day, listen, you need to actually go do something. And that's probably one of the best things, because I realized at that point that I had a choice. Either I can sit inside the whole day and tell myself I was trying to work something, or I could just throw myself into it and make it work. Because the reality was, if it wasn't going to work, I'd be in a much worse position than I was. And so you throw yourself into it, and you make whatever you're doing in your life, and you make it your focus. And once you make it your focus, you know, you kind of have to hit that hurdle, and once you get over the hurdle, things kind of work out very well. And it turned out to be, I think I ended up turning about 70 or 80,000 rand in about 3 weeks.
Wow.
And I wasn't working particularly hard, but what I was doing, I was just doing with all my heart. So I didn't feel stressed by it. I mean, obviously, bear in mind, I was in the States where, you know, minimum wage is a lot higher than in South Africa. So, you know, 70 to 80,000 rand sounds big in South Africa, but, you know, there, I mean, it's not bad. But, you know, it came from the fact that it was like, I have a brick wall. Am I going to just say, okay, I can't achieve it, or am I going to fight through it? You know, how are you going to get over those hurdles? I mean, life will always throw you with hurdles. You know, you don't have to be a traveler to face that. It's how you overcome it. And so I kind of say, you know, the beauty of being a traveler is the fact that it doesn't actually matter where you are. It's the mindset. You know, it's what you take from it. You know, if I if I run out of money at the end of the month, how do I work with that? You know, do I say, okay, tell you what, let me see if I can push myself to make 500 rand in 2 days. You know, once you achieve something, nothing. You know, you can always achieve it again. There's nothing stopping you. And I think a lot of, especially my friends, they always laugh at me, or they don't understand this when I say this. But it's, you know, if I say to them, let's go do something, they say, no, well, you know, I can't afford it. I'm like, do you have the money right now? They're like, yes. Okay, well then spend it. And if that money really means something, then force yourself to make it back.
Okay. Yeah. So from listening to all of this, would you say traveling has made you grow as a person?
100%.
And what is probably the biggest lesson that you've gotten out of traveling?
Well, okay, let me just reiterate. I don't think it's made me grow as a person. I think it's made me become a person.
Oh, okay. And elaborate. Why would you say that?
I mean, I guess the two are synonymous, but I feel a whole lot more myself from what I've learned from traveling than I ever did if I'd stayed in South Africa and not pushed myself at all. You know, like I always say this, but within the first 12 days of traveling, I learned more about myself than I had in 12 years of school. And what I mean by that is, you know, when I was in school, I had all the comforts I needed. And when I wanted to be uncomfortable, usually I had my safety nets. And so, you know, I was happy to eat all the food I was given. You know, I didn't really appreciate it as much as I did. I didn't feel the need to push myself to become fitter or healthier as a person, because I was like, well, what's the point? I'm young, you know, it's cool. So none of these sort of things that really progress you as a person were ever actually, I didn't feel the desire to achieve them. Yeah. Whereas, again, like I say, it doesn't matter where you are, it's just the mindset, you know. So if I hadn't gone on a gap year, but I'd thrown myself into another difficult situation, if I'd said, you know, heck, okay, I'm going to climb Kilimanjaro by the end of the year, and I spent the whole year working towards that, that in itself would be the same thing. It's the mentality behind it. It's about throwing yourself into the most difficult situation you can think of, and showing yourself you can get through it. Because, yeah, that's the thing. You know, a lot of people who know me from university know me as a very confident person. Yeah. People who know me from school won't. And I definitely feel like that confidence came from finding authenticity in the traveling I was with. Because once I knew the person I was, and you can only find that when you're so far out of your comfort zone. Yeah. So that's when you really focus. You know, you can feel your heartbeat and the things you do. Essentially you're running on natural cocaine, it feels like. You know? your adrenaline is non-stop, and that kind of pushes you to just want to do the things you've never done before.
And do you kind of feed off that sort of like a need for that adrenaline rush nowadays? Yes, I mean,
it's very interesting, because I also find that people you surround yourself with can also minimize that. Yeah. So, you know, in first year, or coming back from travels, I actually always said this as well. I struggled socially, because coming from an environment like traveling where you make friends like this, because you realize, hey, listen, tomorrow I might not see you again. Yeah. There's no chance of you going, oh no, I'll do it next time. So you jump straight into it. Wait, give me a second, I just lost my thought. Just tell me the question again.
Do you feed off the adrenaline rush?
So yes, that's jumping straight into it and saying to yourself, actually, John, there is no fallback. I can't just do it again next time. You know, I know it's cliche, but it's the whole thing about, okay, what happens if tomorrow the opportunity will never come back, you know? And it's very cliche until the point where you realize that it's actually 100% truth. You know, you should be living every single day as if it was your last. Yeah. Not necessarily because, oh my gosh, death is around the corner, but because living every single day like it's the last makes you live every single day much better. Okay. You know, and that again, so that adrenaline, that almost that fear, that's kind of what pushed me to do it, because, you know, fear is a really interesting thing. You will fear doing something up until the moment you actually do it. You know, if you're going to go bungee jumping, I mean, when I went bungee jumping in 2017, you know, I was in that very confident mood where I was like, do you want to know, I can do anything, I can do anything. Walking on that bridge though, looking down, your body goes, what are you doing? Because there is no rationale behind jumping off a bridge attached to a string. There is nothing about it that makes sense. It's like skydiving. Who wants to jump out of a plane? There is nothing that tells your brain, hey, listen, this is a good idea.
Yeah.
And so your body will naturally do whatever it can to prevent you from doing stupid things to survive.
Yeah.
But there's a difference between doing stupid things and doing things which are okay but push you out of your comfort zone. So skydiving, yes, there's a huge risk to it. But the reality is that risk is, you know, you're more likely to die by a toaster than you are by skydiving, you know? So it's about realizing that that fear is always going to be there up until the moment you do it. And so it's actually, fear is not real, it's a preventative measure. You know, you kind of just need to throw yourself into it and get through the fear. I mean, it's like injections. I personally still today hate injections. The reality is, you know, it's a moment of pain and it goes away. Okay? Fear is a moment of anxiety. It goes away.
And for example now, if you had to give a tip to anybody, especially to us students on campus, for traveling, what is probably the number one thing that you would say to someone who's like, okay, but I would like to travel at the end of this year? What's the most important thing to you?
I think I see where you're going with this, but I'm going to tell
You know, I'm trying to get you to spill the beans a bit.
Like I said, I can tell you, but you know, the essence of it actually comes down to one thing, and that is teaching yourself to be able to do it. You know, if I say to you, okay, we've got until the end of the year to plan a trip, I'd say, what are you doing this weekend? Because if you cannot tell me right now, oh, I really want to go traveling, then you should be able to take a spontaneous trip this weekend somewhere and just do it. And not worry about, oh, I've got work next week, or I've got this or stuff. Because the reality is that if you're doing something you love, all that other stuff like work, you will make time for eventually because you're on a high.
Yeah.
But if you feel constantly put down because of the things you're doing in life, so much so that you can't do the things you love, you know, you're going to waste time. It's going to take you 2 hours longer to write a paper or to, you know, finish something you're supposed to do. I mean, I've always said that the time I work the best is when I have no time to do it. You know,
you work based under pressure.
It's true, because you're forcing yourself to. Making a video a day while traveling is the stupidest concept on earth.
I wanted to ask you about how do you do that?
It was a nightmare, because you essentially you're stopping yourself from purely traveling. You know, because obviously traveling's got a lot of spontaneity, but you're kind of having to like implement something in which case you can get some footage and you can actually edit it and put it up and all sorts of stuff. But at the same time, it offered another thing, because now I wasn't just sitting inside waiting. I was forcing myself to go and do the things I usually wouldn't do. You know, like, I'm not the traveller who gets out of bed every single morning and walks around the city. That's not me. I don't do that. But now, having to record something and do something interesting pushed me to find that interesting thing. You know, it kind of in itself is the motivator to go do something.
So you would say your tip for us students is to just go do it?
Yes, because, you know, motivation is one of those things that's never there when you need it.
Very true, especially when you need to study.
Yeah, you know, you're always motivated to go to the gym the night before. You always say, tomorrow I'm going to wake up, and the alarm goes off and you're like, actually no, I'm going to go back to bed. So yes, you kind of need to take your choice out of the situation. In fact, I was thinking about this last night. You know, you kind of need to give yourself no choice to do something.
Yeah.
You know, those who, and you know, it's the whole thing about people who work under pressure. I mean, look, pressure is not fun at all. It never is. But you have no other choice. You know, if there's almost like there's two types of people in the world. There's the people who, you know, when they hit rock bottom, they go, okay, there's nothing else I can do. Or there's people who hit rock bottom and they say, okay, there's nothing else I can do but get out. And I think getting to a point where you consciously make the decision to understand that there isn't a choice to accept, and there's only the choice to do, that'll push you. So yes, you know, if you tell me right now, Seb, I want to plan a trip for December and I want to get there, I'll be like, do it in July. Why wait the whole year? Because that gives you more time and more excuses, more time to think of excuses.
Yeah, I actually never thought about it like that. But you know, since you're actually kind of not traveling because you are studying right now, what is the next step currently for Foster Culture? What are you going to do right now?
So actually, thanks. I was going to do a video on this because a lot has changed, and by a lot I mean the thought pattern behind it. So I don't want to be somebody who makes videos about the beauties of places and, like, you know, encourages traveling to a specific location. Okay, I'm a lot more focused on in nurturing that culture where people understand the beauty of travel. And I think, again, it's very difficult to kind of fully explain because you kind of have to experience it to know it.
Yeah.
But you know, getting to that point where, you know, people can see. Yeah, getting to that point where I'm no longer focused on the location, but more the beauty of what it is I'm doing. You know, so for example, now, yes, I'm back in South Africa and I have university, but you know, I've never learned to surf. So I'm planning a video now with my friends where I'm gonna get somebody who knows how to surf to teach 5 guys who don't know how to surf. Make a video out of it. You know, do something interesting because, you know. Now look, again, surfing for me, I've never really desired to do it. That's my motivation to not do it. Okay. You know, I'm gonna have to live by my word. If I'm the one going to telling everybody to go do the things I've never done before, I need to do it too. And this is new for me because, you know, yes, okay, I'm a lot more comfortable now with going overseas and doing that sort of stuff. But the things like surfing, that also kind of plays into the whole traveler's mindset. You know, so I want to do surfing, I want to do surfing, I want to explore more of Cape Town and the surrounding areas and South Africa. You know, all these sort of things that they don't take years of planning and lots of financial resources. You know, you kind of just need to jump into it to make it work. Yeah. You know, I always say some of the best memories I have are legit based on the fact that they happened, not actually what happened.
That's very true. Yeah.
You know, it is weird because I sometimes catch myself and I'm like, whoa, am I living just for memories? And I'm like, well, what else am I living for, you know? Yeah. Those memories are what kind of make me.
Yeah.
You know, I asked my 2 best friends last night, I said, can you guys tell me right now what your best memory is? And all of them kind of were like, well, I mean, what do you mean? You know, all this stuff. If someone asks me what my best memory is, I can't choose which one's the best memory because I've got so many. And all of them were completely spontaneous decisions that the very first thing I thought about was, no, that's a bad idea, I shouldn't do it. And then I kind of catch myself, I taught myself that every single time my initial reaction to something is, that's not a good idea, I go, we must do it then.
Yeah.
You know,
typical meme right here, right now.
You've got to just do it because I promise you right now, the thing you will regret the most in life is the fact that you've not done something you could have done. Yeah. Once the opportunity passes, it passes. Yeah. That's it. Yeah, and you can deal with the repercussions later. You really can. And like, look, I'm not saying go do something criminal.
Yeah, please.
You know,
stop.
I'm not saying if you've got a deep desire to go rob a bank, go do it. Okay? Because you shouldn't be doing something that affects other people, do it to affect yourself. You know, so for example, I'm a horrible musician. I'm really not that talented. But, you know, I've got a story. When I was in Budapest once in Hungary, we decided, you know what, let's go see if we can actually make money busking. We were absolutely horrible. But you know, somebody threw a €2 at us to shut us up. And we took that €2, and between 3 guys, we bought 1 slice of pizza, and it was the best pizza ever. Not because it was good pizza, but because we did something so ridiculous, but we achieved it.
No, it's a memory that I think, personally, if I was there, that would probably be one of my best memories. Because it's so, like, you know, in that moment, it's incredible.
It is. It's about achieving the things you think are impossible. You know, it's like, why do people why do people climb Everest? Yeah.
It sounds pretty insane if you think
there is no point essentially climbing it. But once you've done it, you know you can achieve so much more. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I personally don't think I'll ever climb Everest. Okay? I think Kilo will be my... I would like to do Kilimanjaro, so I need to push myself to do that. But I understand why people would do it. Yeah. I understand why people would push themselves to the breaking point, to the point where they have nothing more to give. Because if you can give that and not die, you know you can always do more. You can get through those horrible nights where you've got an essay to write due for the next morning. Yeah. You can get through those heartaches. You can get through those difficult times in life. You know, essentially that's all it is. Your traveling kind of comes down to giving yourself the ability to get through the hard things and to appreciate the beauty that everything holds. You know, I always say when you're traveling, your entire emotional understanding of life is always heightened. You know, if it's shit, it's really, really shit. Okay?
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, I've got no money. It's like, I have no money, I have no friends, I have no clue where I am. What must I do? You know? I kind of feel like when people say, oh, okay, I have no money now in Stellenbosch, they're like, okay, I'll just wait until the end of the month.
Yeah.
You know, I'll just stop what I'm doing because I have no money. If you have no money, dude, go make money in the last week of having no cash. You know, that could be an experience. Yes, you got university, but we've got so much time. You know, and even if it's making $100, you know how you can make $100? Go to your friend and say, hey, can I borrow 10 rand from each person?
Yeah.
You know, how many times...
No, we need to help each other.
To my friends, do not quote me on this, okay? But how many times do you really remember to ask for the 10 rand back? You know, most of the time your friends will actually kind of cover you, essentially. You know, you'll always kind of be giving and taking. Now, I'm not saying go and exploit your friends. What I'm trying to say, though, is, you know, I love the ideas of goals. Because if I say to myself, okay, by the end of the month I'm going to make 1,000 rand, I'm going to do it. You know, I don't care how it happens. I don't care if it's horrible to do it, but I'm going to do it. Because then I've got 1,000 rand more. Then I'm going to have the experiences I thought I could miss out on. You know, I really, really struggle to understand when people... I mean, look, I do comprehend that some people are in very, very difficult situations.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that. But with people who I know are not, you know, at breaking point or in those horrible situations, they're just lazy.
Yeah.
You know, we all have the ability to achieve something. And those who, you know... Those who are not at the rock bottom, they really should be pushing themselves more. You know, if I have 41 cents in my bank account, and I've had this before, there's a choice. You know, it's
a struggle.
It's it's what do you do? Do you sit back and go, oh, you know, that's reality. Just wait until next month. You know, again, like, do you just live your day for the next day? Or do you say, okay, I've got 41 cents in my bank account. What can I do? What can I do that will make my life more exciting whilst knowing I've only got 41 cents in my bank account? You know, there's a challenge. Go do something that only requires 40 cents. Can you do that? Is it possible? I promise you right now, that will become a whole memory you'll want to be able to tell your grandchildren. Yeah. You know, and your friends will go, what the hell? And then you can go, yeah, dude, next time you tell me you have no money to come for a drink, come for a drink.
That's actually all the questions I have. This is actually very insightful. Like I feel like a new person. Now I'm ready to travel. No, thank you so much. This is going to be like, I would actually, because I didn't record it because I kind of forgot. I would actually like all the footage so I can write an article.
Yeah, sure, no worries.
No, this is really good, and I'm actually, thank you for taking up this for some of us, and I like the whole idea behind, you know, telling people to get off their asses and like do something, because I'm guilty of that, where I'm like, no, I don't have money, I'm a student, and I'm just gonna like, I can't do anything. And sometimes we just need to like take a step outside of our comfort zones, and it's something that I know that I used to struggle with, and I'm getting there. Not completely, but yeah, honestly, thank you for that.
I mean, it does come down to that, you know, I think people are so afraid of what could happen that they forget to just enjoy the fact that it can happen. You know, so, yeah, you know, if I say I'm going to go overseas, if I book a ticket now for July, and I don't make that money, and I go overseas, you know, it's going to be like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Yeah. But heck, if I hadn't have done that, I would never have gone overseas. Yeah. I would never, you know, maybe the day I arrive at the airport and I've got like 10 rand in my bank account, I bump into somebody who says, hey, listen, come do this, come do that. And you know, that risk that you take, you say, okay, no, you know, let me just not risk it because I can't do it. You will never know what could potentially have happened. You know, if you don't tell that person how you feel about them, you don't know what you could be missing out on. If you don't, you know, if you've got a fear of heights and you don't try to overcome that, you will never know the beauty of skydiving or bungee jumping, you know? Find the beauty in life and do it.
And I think also because I recently skydived and it was absolutely amazing. I had the time of my life. I was giggling the whole flight, but because I went up to Swakop, which is a place that I'm not from, so it was completely new to me. Not completely, but it's different. And I think sometimes we forget to just like be in the moment and like forget about everything else that we need to worry about. Because I used my last little bit of pocket money that I got for my birthday to go visit a friend of mine, and I did it, and it was one of the best holidays of my life. And honestly, like, it's something that I sometimes forget as well, is just to like be in that moment and appreciate what you have right now.
Happiness, happiness is reality minus expectation.
There we go.
And, even about the savings thing, I laugh about people and their savings because what is the purpose of savings? So that you can one day spend them on something you love.
Yeah.
You're never going to have enough savings. Is the right way of saying that? You're never going to have enough security. You just, again, it comes back to the whole thing about when's the right time. You're never going to have the right time to do something. It's never going to exist. Things are not going to be perfect ever. Okay, take the expectation out of reality. So all my friends say, oh no, I've only got this much in my bank account. I'm like, so what are you waiting for? It's like, oh well, I'm just saving it for a day when it might happen. I'm like, what happens, hypothetically, if that day never comes? Now, you've got all that cash in your bank account that you've never spent, and you've never got to appreciate the beauty of spending it on something you love.
Yeah.
Spend it now and worry about it later. I struggle to sympathize with people who spend all their savings. I really do. If you spend all your savings, and you go, oh my gosh, I don't have more money left. I mean, like, that's brilliant though, because you spent it on something you love. Yeah. I mean, I've actually I know somebody who's done that, and it sometimes reminds her. She sometimes goes into a bit of panic about it. But I'm like, the question you ask yourself is, do you regret spending that money? And every time I ask her that, she's like, no. So I'm like, then don't worry about it. If you've got no more money, make it again.
Yeah.
And that itself will be an experience. Going, okay, damn, I have to make this much money. Again, making 80,000 rand in essentially 4 weeks. The money didn't matter. It's the fact that I managed to do it.
Yeah.
Because then when I first met Noah, when I left. When I left Germany and I came out to South Africa, we made plans to see each other again. I immediately thought, okay, well, I need to go. I want to see her again, so I need to book a ticket for, later. The ticket was 6,500 rand. I had nothing on my bank account. I worked for 3 weeks. I made 6,500 rand because I knew I'd worked for 4 weeks. And I made 80,000 rand. So it's not impossible. Yeah. You just need to grind. Yeah. You need to go. Okay, I don't regret working my ass off for 3 weeks. Not at all. I can't even remember it. Yes, okay, it's tiring. But you know what? You've got that thing that pushes you. And that thing that's pushing you is the fact that you're doing something you really want to do. Again, like family members are often the most guilty of this because they're the ones who say, don't do this. Yeah. Your mother or your father, they're usually the ones who say, maybe don't drop out of your law degree to become a vlogger. Yeah. because they're worried. People are worried. Mom, Dad, I'm not dropping out of law. Okay, don't worry. But people want what's best for you. But sometimes they don't realize that by saying no, they're sometimes maybe taking the opportunity you could have had away from you. So I kind of encourage children to when someone, or anybody actually, when someone says no to you, say, do you know what? I'm going to do it anyways. I've actually got a funny story because the whole reason I'm doing law was because one of my friends made a bet with me that I couldn't get in.
Wow. Yeah. And how's it going?
I'm loving it because it was a decision I made. Now listen, it wasn't necessarily the fact that she thought I couldn't get in, but as soon as she kind of said, my reaction to it was, you know what, let me see if I can get in. The odds were very difficult, but if I can get into it,
you can do it.
Exactly. So it's kind of like even once I got accepted to law, I didn't actually know if I was going to do it. But it was because the whole thing for me was, am I capable of getting the right marks? Am I capable of pushing myself? Because in first year, I was doing BA in first year, and I was very content and very comfortable with what I was doing. I was happy to sit back and just go, study the night before, or study an hour and a half before and ace it.
Don't throw shade at my degree.
No, listen, I'm not at all. I'm not at all.
Yeah.
Okay, but I was in first year. I was very good at working out how to. I don't want to say bullshit the system, but that was my thing. I was very good at understanding what I need to do to achieve something. I'm not at all insulting BA at all. I loved my BA degree. I'm still doing BA law. But I realized I was on top of it.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's brilliant. Getting 75s or getting 80s was great for me.
But you needed the challenge.
But how much better would it have been to say, oh wait, can I throw myself into an environment where I don't get 80s for doing nothing?
Yeah.
People who you know, let's say if someone's naturally gifted at maths and they do engineering or something like that, or maths, and they always get 90s, good. I'm not saying ditch that. But wouldn't it be better if you can say, I'm very good at maths, but I'm horrible writing essays. Why don't I try and teach myself how to write essays?
Yeah.
Because the only thing you're doing is enhancing your life. And isn't that the core of what we should do? You know, why settle for the things we can do when we can achieve the things we can't?
So from that whole perspective that you have there, you take it into traveling as well.
Yeah, traveling kind of awoke that in me. You know, when I tell people that I did 18 countries in 375 days, they're like, oh, wow. I'm like, it really wasn't that much, dude. Like 18 countries, I kind of felt guilty because it should have been a lot more. Because essentially all you're doing is going to a country, stepping on the land and going, tick.
Cool.
You know? So, you know, people kind of were looking at it and going, wow, I'm so impressed. How did you do it? I was like, well, essentially what I was doing was just living. Like, I literally was doing nothing else. In fact, if anything, I was failing a lot.
Yeah.
Do not fear failing.
Yeah.
It is okay to fail, because if you fail, you do learn. You know, exactly. I was failing when I wasn't working in the States.
Yeah.
I was failing and pushing myself. Now I have that, you know, I've learned from my failure, and now I feel I'll always be able to achieve it. You know, I don't. You're right. You know, going back to the question about does that desire push me? Yeah, because I don't ever feel like I can't do something I put my mind to. You know, if I look back in my life, everything I've kind of said, okay, do you know what? I'm doing that. I get to it. And if I don't get to it, I get to something else.
Yeah.
You know, shoot for the moon. If you miss, you hit the stars.
Exactly. At least you land somewhere.
It's very cliche, but you know, if I'm aiming for Harvard one day, if I make that my mission to get to Harvard, and I don't get to Harvard, I might get something else. But you know where I'll definitely get is I'll get my marks up, and you know, maybe my parents will be happy, and maybe I'll get a scholarship. You know, if all that sort of stuff happens, my life is already enriched.
Yeah.
Do something that pushes you, because if you push yourself, you enrich yourself. You know, it's again, you know, I was talking to my friends, and they're like, oh, I would just love to do this and do this. I'll be like, well, then why don't you start something that puts you into a situation where you can do it? You know, my roommate loves wine. So she started a wine blog, and now she goes to lots of places, and you know, she often gets complimentary wine because she's doing a service. So you know, she's getting rewarded for something she loves to do. You know, if you love cars, start something with cars. Go meet people who work with cars, and you know, one of them is going to be like, "Yeah, do you want to jump into my, you know, very nice car?"
Yeah.
You know, or if you see a very nice car, go up to that person and say, "Hey, can I take a drive with you?" People are not actually cruel; they're very nice. You know,
some of them, not all of them, but most of them.
If you walk up to a stranger with a chocolate bar and you say, hey, I want to give this chocolate bar to you, but I want you to smile in return, they're always going to smile. You know, if you say to someone, hey, listen, dude, I love your car, do you mind giving me a spin? They're going to be like, yeah, let me show off what I have. You know,
Yeah.
People are very welcoming if you are genuine and authentic with them. You know, don't go to a sledgehammer and say, hey, give me your car. You know, don't do that. Okay? Don't go and say, you want a chocolate bar? Do something for me.
Yeah.
You know, give yourself over. Be completely open, be completely natural, and people will see that and they'll appreciate it and they'll respect it.
Thank you so much.
I think that's everything I need to say for now.
Yeah, so thank you for agreeing for this interview for Campus Culture. I'm sure that the students will appreciate this and subscribe, and you said follow, subscribe to your blog or vlog instead, to get like all the tips and tricks on traveling and, you know, just embracing life as it is. So thank you very much.
No, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking very forward to the article. Thank you.